Hello and welcome to State of the Economy. Today we will discuss the importance and impact on India of the mother of all free trade agreements which was signed last week, the Trans-Pacific Trade Agreement, which has brought a dozen countries together, mainly led by the United States, and we are told that this would be the gold standard of all free trade agreements. It will cover 40% of the global economy, $30 trillion. And to discuss the impact of this on India, we have with us Mr. Anwarul Hoda, former Deputy Director General of WTO, an Indian representative there, and currently professor at ICRIER, which is a think tank which specializes in international trade issues. Welcome to our show, Dr. Anwarul Hoda. So, you have been a very keen observer, even student of trade agreements, starting from WTO when you yourself were Deputy Director General at the WTO. How do you view the big hype over the Trans-Pacific Trade Agreement, which is being described as the gold standards, and what sort of impact do you think it will have on India and on the ongoing multilateral trade negotiations?
Well, no doubt the TPP is a major development on the international trade scene. It will affect the trade of those countries which are parties to it.
Okay.
It will benefit them.
Positively, yeah. Okay.
Because they will get greater access to each other's market and to the three big markets of the United States, Japan, and Canada. As far as India is concerned, I should agree that there would be some adverse effect. But looking at the outlines of the agreement that have appeared in the press.
The text is not yet out in public domain, right?
Without sort of having a look at the detailed text, I can say that the effect of India on the present reckoning will not be devastating.
Okay.
There are some...
We all survive in spite of the TPP and survive well.
I will just give 2 or 3 reasons. One, 6 of the 11 countries besides the United States which are members of the TPP, are going to be members of the TPP, already have a free trade agreement with the United States.
Okay, so there's nothing new.
There's nothing new in it.
Okay.
Then, as far as India is concerned, we have a free trade type of an agreement with Japan. And we are negotiating something with Canada and Australia.
We have one with
we
Vietnam.
Already have with
ASEAN. We
already have with ASEAN.
And Vietnam is part of that, right?
So all these, Malaysia and Vietnam are both parts of it.
And they're part of TPP also, yeah.
So I come to the sort of preliminary opinion that it will be not as devastating as one would have thought. The only area in which I could see that there would be some effect and possibly major effect is that of textiles and clothing, our exports to United States.
Even countries like Vietnam would have great advantage.
That's right.
There
are 2 reasons for that. One is that while the US MFN tariffs are not very high on other items, on textiles and clothing and on leather products, they are rather high.
Even automobiles, right?
Automobiles, yes, but we are not sending
US is
finished,
not our market at the moment.
assembled automobiles as yet.
In fact, our automobile exports are to the other emerging markets, mostly
That's
Africa
right.
and Latin
That's
America.
right. Finished.
Yeah, finished.
We are exporting mainly parts. Uh, Now, as far as textiles and clothing is concerned, Vietnam is a powerhouse. And if it gets zero tariff, where our goods are subjected to various levels of 10 to up to 30%.
So it could impact our textile industry.
Yes, but wait. One would have thought that this would be an area of greatest impact. But Vietnam, as far as I can see, again, we have to wait for the final text, is not getting clean access.
Okay. There are caveats there also, is it?
There is a very big caveat. The caveat is of rules of origin.
Oh.
They are being subjected to what is known as the yarn forward rules. That is, in order to avail of the benefit of duty-free access, they would have to import fabric for conversion into clothing
Within
within
the TPP countries.
That's right.
Okay.
Now, they have been importing from China for their competitiveness. So, this will be a very big sort of
This will be a constraint.
it would be blunting the competitive edge that Vietnam would otherwise be getting by virtue of.
So here I want to say something. I've also heard that countries like China are also waiting to join TPP. At the moment, they are not there. The Americans have done it with, say, 11 other countries, as you said, Japan and Vietnam and a few countries in the Pacific, Canada. But the pull of TPP is such that some other countries are also waiting at the doorstep to enter. And I believe some of the ASEAN countries are there. China is also there. Now, hypothetically, if China were to join, then do you think India would get very, very badly isolated?
Well, if China joins, then of course the trade impact
Will be of a very high order.
more. And there are newspaper reports that Thailand is, for instance,
South Korea
wanting to-
apparently is also waiting to.
South Korea was earlier expected to be sort of keen to join, and that was the newspaper report. But of late, they are reported to be rethinking on that and assessing whether joining. So it's a question of costs and benefits.
Cost benefits, yeah.
China, for instance, is already negotiating a bilateral tax treaty, bilateral investment agreement, BIT,
Okay.
with the United States, as well as with the European Union.
Okay.
Now, if it succeeds in sort of getting a favorable outcome, and then they might sort of be nearer to joining the.
So here I want to ask
That
you.
would be the next step.
I know. I want to ask you something here. Now, this is a deeply political question. One of the key issues that comes in the way of United States and Europe doing such bilateral deep agreements, right, investment or trade with countries like India or China, is intellectual property rights. Now, the Americans are very, very frustrated about their inability to create a certain standardized regulatory framework for IPRs, and besides IPRs, for even things like labor standards, environment standards. And on these critical issues, India and China have always stood together in opposing these. Now, do you think going forward, China would try to do some compromise? If they do a bilateral, as you say, investment agreement with US, they may sort of give in, arrive at some middle path solution on IPRs and on other, some of these issues, which were like Singapore issues in the WTO, which you have dealt with. How do you see this really sort of, what should I describe it as, I mean, this knot, this Gordian knot, getting getting resolved?
Well, I think intellectual property rights are the nub of the issue as far as India is concerned. And all the points on which we have been having differences with United States in our dialogue are points on which the TPP sort of adopts the US approach, which
yeah, exactly. So in a way, US has circumvented.
That's right.
Yeah, through TPP has circumvented some of these issues.
For instance, you would have heard about evergreening of patents. You would have heard that our Supreme Court has made certain observations that in order to to fulfill the criteria of patentability in our laws, there should be enhanced efficacy of medicine.
It should be exhibited.
According to the reports, the TPP nullifies this.
Okay.
That they, at least this was the US sort of point of view which they were trying to pursue in the TPP, that enhanced efficacy should not be a condition. This is one. The other is that you would have heard the data exclusivity, which the US has been seeking. The reports say that that has been conceded
by other TPP countries to
by
US.
In the TPP agreement, particularly for biological drugs, that is biologics as they call it. The US was seeking 12 years data exclusivity, which more or less would have the effect of extending the patents.
After they come out of
Because
patents,
generics would not be possible.
Okay, but then it would not be possible. So which
That's
would
right.
impact the developing countries.
Now one doesn't know what is the final thing, but there are some reports that they have agreed on this, but which period, whether it is 5 years or 12 years, that is not very
We'll have to
clear.
see the text for that. Yeah.
That's right.
We'll take a small break here, Hoda Saab, and then come back to this very interesting discussion. Please don't go away and keep watching RSTV. Welcome back to State of the Economy. We are having a very interesting discussion with Mr. Anwarul Hoda on the impact of the recent Trans-Pacific Trade Partnership Agreement between the US and 11 other countries, which has been described as the mother of all free trade agreements, its impact on India. So coming back to the pharmaceutical question, Hoda Saab, you said intellectual property rights is the nub of the issue, and you've said that India has made a huge progress in this area by introducing certain provisions in its own patent act, which has been found to be WTO compliant. And of course, the American pharma companies, the pharma lobby doesn't like that, and especially what you just said, the Supreme Court order on Novartis, which seeks enhanced efficacy in order for the US pharma companies to sort of to continue to have the benefit of the patents even after the drugs have come out of the initial patent period, what we call generics. Now, where do you think will China stand on this? Because we were discussing if in the event that China moves into, as you said, into TPP, it will really then start hurting India. So how does this political play happen? How do you see this pan out?
Well, it's very difficult to speculate what China will do, but as of now,
But in WTO, India and China are together on these issues, right?
Yes, but this is not WTO. What they are wanting is WTO extra.
Exactly, yeah.
And on patents, and that extra is what I described, evergreening, and there are a number of other provisions, including this data exclusivity. Now it's a question of
Could you explain this data exclusivity in little more detail? I mean, what is the real issue there?
yes. You see, the after a patent has been granted, the companies seek clearance from the drug controller in India.
For exclusive marketing rights, isn't it?
No, they seek clearance for marketing the goods.
Marketing goods, yeah.
Now, this clearance is given on the basis of the data that they disclose on the effect that the thing has on patients, whatever clinical trials that they have had.
And this data is kept with the regulator.
The regulator. Now, what the pharmaceutical company says,
They are accusing
that
India of leaking this data.
No. This data has been generated by us, and it should not be used as the basis for giving clearance to others. If a generic manufacturer wants to manufacture the goods, they should be asked to generate their own data through clinical trials.
Okay.
And then only they should be permitted, which means that for 5 years or whatever period for
After the drug is out of
that's
patents,
right,
yeah.
they will not be able to use this data, and they will be asked to generate this. So, in a way, this gives extension to the patent life.
In a way to the, exactly, yeah. So tell me, do you think India can, and China, being the largest economies, among the top 3 or 4 economies by PPP terms, in fact by PPP China is bigger than even US, can they do an alternative to TPP? Although there are some efforts in that direction, like RCEP, you must have studied that also.
There is also the FTAAP, which China seems to be pushing.
Plus, there is also this view, sir, that this whole China plan, this project of one belt, one road, and to create infrastructure along some of these developing countries, is also aimed at creating a larger free trade, eventually a TPP type of agreement with various countries. Now, how do you see an alternative panning out?
Well, the alternative, I mean, these what you say.
Like RCEP, how do you see RCEP?
RCEP is very difficult for me to judge at present, because nothing of what is going on there is in the public domain. One doesn't know what they are discussing.
Okay.
One knows only this, that they are discussing some sort of a free trade area in ASEAN plus 6.
Yeah, which includes India and China.
India is included. But India is deeply suspicious of entering into a free trade area agreement in which China is also a party. And the reason for that is that as of today, India's competitiveness in manufactures is far behind that of China.
And you've done a study on this, which we have spoken about. I've written about this also.
So that is the problem at present in India joining.
So you think India is not prepared really to
That's my
in terms of its own domestic competitiveness.
That's my
to
impression.
enter some of these big FTAs.
That's my impression. Big FTAs involving China. I mean,
Sir, because I'm saying, I'm asking you this because there are noises coming out of the Indian establishment that they are scared of FTAs even with other countries. Like there is a view within this government, this particular government, that FTAs have actually hurt India FTAs with even ASEAN have hurt India. They recently suspended talks with the EU on that comprehensive economic cooperation agreement. So overall, India seems to be really on the defensive. Is it because, as you say, our competitiveness, productivity is still a bit doubtful?
Not vis-a-vis countries other than China, I think, but it is true that we have some way to go to improve our competitiveness by improving our infrastructure, by bringing in GST, by improving our labor laws. These are the top three that come to mind. And by doing something about land acquisition land has become costlier through recent legislation. So these are the big weights to India's competitiveness.
Okay.
If we improve them, then improve these aspects, then we can easily compete with everyone else. There should be no difficulty.
So essentially, are you suggesting then that before we improve our competitiveness on all these counts that you just spoke about, labor, GST, we should not really venture into a big free trade agreement, an alternative to TPP, which is the RCEP, ASEAN countries plus China, India. We should be a bit wary of that at this moment. Is that what you're suggesting?
I have always thought that multilateralism is the way to go, and this regional agreement is not the way to go for India. But there was a sort of there was perhaps a geopolitical reason for India to have an
go into
agreement.
regional agreement.
That's right. With the neighboring countries, South Asian countries, which, as you know, is blocked by one of our neighboring countries.
Yeah.
Real progress in that. And there was also a geopolitical dynamic for us to go in for it vis-a-vis the ASEAN countries. But
it's a reality now. You can't. Regional agreements are
absolutely,
there to stay.
but
Right?
what has happened, what has been to India's disadvantage is that while we have gone ahead with the goods part of it, the services part of it is lagging behind.
Where we have our competitiveness.
Especially vis-a-vis ASEAN. So it was, in hindsight, I can say that it was not a good tactic for us to agree to goods without first clinching the services.
They should have been parallelly done, right?
In parallel, and I am told that the other side is dragging its feet on the services area. You said something about RCEP, and I said that I do not know enough about it because it's not in the public domain. But I know only this, that there India is pitching for equal emphasis to be put on services, and some other countries are not very keen on this.
Okay. So that's where our competitive advantage lies. Thank you very much, Mr. Anwarul Hoda, for talking to us on this subject. That's all we have in this edition of State of the Economy. We'll be back with you next week. Thanks for watching.